Hi, welcome back to my channel. This is Amy from With Love by Amy, and today we are making a spooky Halloween card with this Witch Please stamp set from Ink Road Stamps. And this was the first time that I used it, and we're going to emboss this on some watercolor paper because we're going to be doing some watercoloring. So I used my anti-static powder tool to make sure that the embossing powder would stay where it needed to go. And we're inking it up with Versamark ink. And I'm using my pressure tool to make sure that I get even coverage with that Versamark ink, which is really hard to see. And I did use the smooth side of the watercolor paper, not the more textured side, to ensure that I got the best possible inking on there with the Versamark. And I have it in my Misty stamping tool. I've been keeping that grid tool, grid sheet in my Misty lately, and I've found it very helpful for quite a few things. You'll see me use it later on in the video. And we're going to emboss it with black embossing powder. So we're going to do kind of like a watercolor resist technique today. And I tried out something new with the filming today. You're going to see me embossing. That's kind of cool. I moved the camera, so I'm kind of excited about the ability to move the camera around and make kind of some cool different shots than I'm used to, because usually I do embossing off camera. I'm just making sure that we have good even coverage of the black embossing powder, and I just tap it off into a sheet, like a sheet of computer paper. All right, here we go. I'm going to emboss it. I do work from the front and the back to try to minimize the warping on the watercolor paper. I know it's a heavier cardstock, but it takes a little more to melt it on there, so I didn't want to work too much on one side. So I just kept flipping it back and forth and checking if it was done. And here we are starting with the watercoloring. And this is very sped up. I'm getting the paper wet first, just so that, and then I have to activate the watercolors. It's the Pearl, excuse me, Pearl watercolors from Iuile Watercolors. I got them on Etsy. And this one that I'm using is number 23. And they're very interesting. They're the most unique watercolors I think I've ever seen, because it says pearl, but they're kind of like, they're color changing, in my opinion. They're like iridescent. So you'll see as I'm painting it on, I have to keep adding water to the paint pan to keep the paint like moving and stuff. It's hard to, I don't know, I haven't really perfected these yet. I'm not awesome with them, but in the end, after going over it, I did kind of like 2 coats of watercolor on it. I don't know if that's the way you're supposed to do it, but that's the way I've had the best success with it when I'm doing like a whole full panel. There is one other example on my Instagram page of me doing this before I started doing YouTube videos, where I did it on a black. And I actually drew an outline of a hat, a witch hat. And then I did the more green watercolor from this set, and it was fun. In my opinion, it's a learning curve, but I'm getting there. I like the way it turned out. This video is actually part of a hop on YouTube from the Facebook group Team Tiny, which Team Tiny is a group that is dedicated to small creators, basically creators with less than 1,000 subscribers, so that they're unfortunately not monetized yet on YouTube. So it's just a way for us to all collectively try to help each other grow. So we participate in monthly hops on YouTube and share our content and hopefully get more exposure by participating in this hop. All right, and I'm going to leave all the details for the hop down in the description box below. So if you would like to join with all the creators that are in this hop, I think October actually has about 15 creators in it, which I'm super excited to see everybody's creations for October. I think this year I've made more Halloween, fall, spooky cards than I have ever made before, and I'm loving it. I'm loving the motivation to step outside my comfort zone. And I think that since I used an Ink Road stamp set on this one, this card will end up being a roadie random act of kindness, a roadie rack. And if you are interested in finding out more about that, go ahead and check out the Ink Road Facebook roadies group, and you can see all of the Ink Road stamps Creations. All right, look at this. So there it is before it dries. And I did not do the entire panel because I knew that I'm going to die cut it out. So I'm using these stitched rectangles die cuts from Lawn Fawn. And I've also used my new camera angles on die cutting as well, because I previously was unable to film die cutting. So now I have the ability to film die cutting, and I'm super excited about it. Because this was watercolor paper, I'm using my my shim on there. I don't know if I needed to really, but it seemed like it was not completely cut through the first time, probably because it's watercolor paper. And my die cutting machine is very old, so I'm sure that the rollers are getting all tired out. But here's the panel once I cut it out. I love the way those stitched rectangles make it look like a more finished product. And then here we go. I'm going to use those stitched rectangles again. And this time I'm going to use a kind of like a silvery, not really glittery. I don't know. It's hard to describe this one. I don't even know where it came from. It's really old. I found it in my scrap container. So I cut that out with the largest stitched rectangle. And I'm using score tape on the back of this because I did not want to risk getting it more wet with any kind of liquid adhesive. So there I am adhering the Witch Please panel to the bigger stitched rectangle. And we're going to adhere this to the back of a black card base. And I love the little bit of border that there is around the edges of it. Super cool. Look at how that changes colors. I love it. It's so cool. I did do a little bit of green on the stripe of the witch hat, like so a different color than the rest of the hat, just for fun. And then I'm putting a white panel on the inside of the card because I had a black card base. You got to do that. And here we go. We're going to decorate the envelope. See, this is where I've been using the Misty grid mat. I'm going to use those pumpkins and decorate the flap of the envelope. And I've been putting the grid mat in there just in case the envelope is really thin. I don't want it to bleed through onto the back of the envelope. So I've been putting the grid mat in there to keep it from bleeding through. I haven't had any issues, but I like that it's there for kind of like safety. And then you don't risk dropping the stamp onto the back of your envelope and messing that up too if the grid mat is there. So I love it. And here is the finished card. I love the way it turned out. Let me know what you think. All right, thank you so much for watching, and please check out everyone else participating in this Team Tiny Hop in October. And here are some more videos of mine that you may enjoy. Thank you so much for watching, and have a great day. Come back soon.